Welcome back. Subtract fractions. Here is an example. We essentially go over the same steps as for addition, except we are subtracting. Least common denominator. Start with the larger of the two denominators. Does 12 divide 18 evenly? No, it does not. So 18 times 2 is 36. Does 12 divide 36 evenly? Yes. 18 divide 36 evenly? Yes. So we found our least common denominator. So what do? We take our original fractions and make a few changes to the denominators. Alright. So this is 12 times 3 is 36. Whatever I multiply to the denominator, I multiply to the numerator. 18 times 2 is 36. Whatever I multiply to the denominator, I multiply to the numerator. So this fetches me fraction 7 times 3 is 21, 12 times 3 is 36, minus fraction 5 times 2 is 10, 18 times 2 is 36. That is equal fraction 36 is common, so that stays, and numerator now I can subtract 21 minus 10. That is the fraction 11 over 36. Alright, so that completes our subtraction of fraction. So let's go over a little bit review. Multiplication of fractions is straight across multiplication. Division of fractions, take the divisor, that's the second fraction, consider its reciprocal and then multiply across. Addition, you need common denominator. Subtraction, you need common denominator. Okay, if you don't have common denominator, you can find least common denominator. So let's simplify these two cases, right? All right. A problem. Let's look at fraction 5x over 6 minus fraction 3 over 10. Okay. You need common denominator. Notice, start with the larger of the two. Does 6 divide 10 evenly? No, it does not. 10 times 2 is 20. Does 6 divide 20 evenly? No, it does not. 10 times 3 is 30. Does 6 divide 30 evenly? Yes, it does. So that's the first place that both the numbers divide 30 evenly. So scratch off the previous numbers, and now you are ready with the least common denominator 30. So 6 times what is 30? 6 times 5. Whatever you multiply to the denominator, you multiply to the numerator. 10 times what is 30? 10 times 3. Whatever you multiply to the denominator, you multiply to the numerator. So 5x times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. X is simply a variable. So this is 6 times 5 is a 30. Minus fraction. 3 times 3 is a 9. 10 times 3 is a 30. So this gives us equals fraction 30 in the denominator, 25x minus 9. This cannot be simplified anymore, so we stop here. Okay. B part is multiplication. It's not subtraction, it's multiplication. It's multiplication. So how do we multiply fractions? Well, you take 5x times 3, 6 times 10. So what did we do? We simply multiplied straight across. So multiplication is multiplying straight across. Now you see, you can start reducing 5x times 3. 6 is 3 times 2. 10 is 5 times 2. Why did we do this? Because this 5 can reduce that 5. That 3 can reduce that 3. So you are left with x in the numerator. 2 and 2 is 4. And you are done. Okay? Now let's try these two examples. Okay? So first is subtraction. 3a over 4 minus fraction 8 over 9. We don't have common denominator, so let's look for least common denominator. Start with 9. Does 9 divide 9? Of course it does. But does 4 divide 9? No, it does not. So 9 times 2, 18. Does 9 divide 18? Yes. But does 4 divide 18 evenly? No, it does not. 9 times 1, 9 times 2, 9 times 3 is 27. 4 still does not. 9 times 4 is 36. Now 4 divides 36, 9 divides 36. So 36 is least common denominator. Scratch off all the previous ones. You have your fractions to change. So 4 times 9 is 36. So whatever you multiply to the denominator, you multiply to the numerator. 9 times 4 is 36. Whatever you multiply to the denominator, you multiply to the numerator. So this gives me fraction 3a times 9. So that's 27a over 36 minus fraction 8 times 4, 32 over 9 times 4, 36, which eventually brings us, you have common denominator of 36, write it down. Numerator is 27a minus 32, which cannot be simplified any further. So that's it. On the other hand, suppose you are asked to multiply the same fractions, right? 3a over 4 and 8 over 9. Simply multiply. So instead of subtraction, you have multiplication. Multiplication is simply straight across 3a times 8, 4 times 9. Okay? At this point, notice you can start reducing. 8 is nothing but 4 times 2. 4 is 4. 9 on the other hand is 3 times 3. So notice that 4 reduces this 4, this 3 reduces this 3. All I'm left with is 2a on the top. 1 4 is gone, 1 3 is gone, 3 on the bottom. Alright. Likewise, another one, let's try. Fraction 4k over 5 minus fraction 1 over 6. Least common denominators. Notice we don't have common denominators here. So least common denominators start with 6. Does 5 divide 6 evenly? No, it does not. 6 times 2, 12. 5 still does not. 6 times 3, 18. 5 still does not. 6 times 4, 24. No. 6 times 5, 13. Now that works. That's the first place that 5 divides, and 6 of course divides all of these. So least common denominator is 30. So I take these fractions, rewrite them with denominator of 30. 5 times 6. Whatever I multiply to the denominator, I multiply to the numerator. 6 times 5. Whatever I multiply to the denominator, I have to multiply to the numerator. So 4k times 6 is 24k. Denominator is 30 minus 1 times 5 is 5. Denominator is 30. This gives us common denominator is 30, so you write it down. 24k minus 5, which cannot be improved. That's that. Now the last part is how about multiplying instead of subtracting, right? So when you have to multiply, multiplication is easy. You multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So that gives you fraction 4k over 30. But 30, I can rewrite it. You see 4 is there, so 2 times 15. 4 itself is 2 times 2. So 2 reduces and nothing else. 2k over 15. That completes this problem. Alright, let's continue in our next video. Until then,